my turn. I'm going to pick this one. I talked about it yesterday on Coffee and California Politics, which is SB 918. This bill is basically been gutted and amended in response to the Bruen decision that came out. And the Bruen decision is the Supreme Court case that allowed to get rid of the good cause statement for when you get your carry and conceal permit. You no longer have to prove you need good cause, which was sort of the barrier for a lot of people who were trying to get a carry and conceal. And a lot of sheriffs were using that as a way to prevent people from getting a carry and conceal. So in certain counties like Los Angeles County, Alameda County, counties like that, Marin County is another really bad one. They were basically saying that there's no reason for you to actually need a gun, and there's no good cause that would essentially satisfy it. So Bruen came out, said that's no longer an impediment. You can just apply, and the county has to issue it as long as you pass a background check and all that stuff. So not to take it laying down, obviously, California crafted this bill, which added a whole bunch of places in places that they call sensitive places. Now, in the Supreme Court decision, Thomas talked about what these sensitive places are, that throughout history, these were places that you would not carry a gun typically. Schools, government buildings, stuff like that are considered sensitive places. California took it a step further and said, we're going to make everything a sensitive place. You can't carry it in a restaurant. You can't carry it in church. You can't carry it walking by a school. You can't carry it in a park. You can't carry it in a zoo. I mean, they had to make sure that they differentiate. You can't carry in a zoo. And the other thing is in or around any of these places. So even if you're kind of in the area of these places, you're not supposed to be carrying. And then the biggest caveat is that you would not be allowed to carry in any private business, in or around any private business that does not explicitly put on the front of its business, your CCW weapon is welcome in our store. So with that said, does it sound like there's really any place you could carry a firearm in the state of California outside of your home?
You pretty much know it.
Yeah. I mean, you could basically...
Maybe just outside your driveway.
Yeah, you could probably go walk to your driveway, put it in your car. They'll probably figure out a way that you can't access it in your car. It has to be locked away, like in the trunk or something like that, even if you have a carry and conceal. And yeah, there's very few places left in California if this bill passes, which it likely will, because there is the political momentum to do something about guns in California. And obviously with the Democratic supermajority, there is enough momentum and there's enough support that people will back this, that a lot of politicians will think they got tough on bills and they weren't going to allow people to turn California into the wild, wild west. But it's a scary bill for anyone who is going to get a seat. And this is just all the abstract. This is what I'm scrolling through. This isn't even the actual bill. Surprisingly, none of the original authors or co-sponsors or co-authors were Scott Wiener or Dr. Pan or Buffy Wicks or Akilah Weber, probably because it was gutted and amended. But as of right now, on June 29, 2022, it was read a second time and amended, re-referred to the Committee on Appropriations. So that's where it's at right now. I would imagine if this does pass, this will be another one that ends up in court in terms of them filing suit over a huge infringement on your Second Amendment rights based on what the Bruen decision came down with. I don't think this would hold up in court, or especially in federal court.
I think it's important to note too, one of the co-sponsors is Assemblywoman Mia Bonta, and she is the wife of Rob Bonta, the Attorney General. Mm-hmm. And she took over, or I guess she won a special election when her husband got appointed to be Attorney General. It's amazing how that all works.
Mm-hmm. And this is Kevin McCarthy, not to be confused with Kevin McCarthy. No relation.
I would like to throw just two comments about that bill. So the hearing was interesting, the latest one. I want to say it was Quirk, I believe. Maybe I'm mispronouncing that, but he made a comment that was quite interesting. He basically was we were a bit of this rant at the Supreme Court and said, "Who is the Supreme Court to decide what's constitutional?" I mean, basically, right, is what he said. He was referring to Marbury v. Madison, in which when it wasn't explicitly said that the Supreme Court. In the Constitution, the Supreme Court can strike down certain components of the law, but it's implied as you read the role of the Supreme Court that they can affirm laws as constitutional and they can say that certain laws are unconstitutional. So I think that's what he's referring to. It was a very crazy rant. You should check that out if you get a chance. I did post that one to my personal Twitter, which was retweeted by Firearms Policy Coalition. And the second point is there's a provision in this bill that changes the law that's not getting as much attention, I think, as some of the other restrictions. And that would be for your concealed carry permit, you have to be the registered owner, like the individual who purchased the gun and owns the gun, which would mean it would exclude your wife or your husband. So if they have the gun and you want to be trained with one weapon, you don't have to buy two, essentially you would have to buy two different guns of the same type if you wanted to train on it. And so there's other limitations being able to use guns for family members for training and carrying as well. So I think that's a provision that hopefully is fought when some of these lawyers take a look at it.
Will be interesting to see because this bill is almost a mirror of what they're doing in New York State. So not to be outdone by New York State, not to be outmaneuvered on the left, California decided we're going to do exactly the same thing. In terms of asking for all these ridiculous things, references and all that stuff, and character, which I think I saw it was about a moral character statement or something like that. And I thought, how isn't that basically a good cause statement, but in a different kind of way of like, I'm a good person, I should be able to have this. So it'll be interesting to see whether the New York law gets challenged and then that kind of falls right away, and then that precedent is taken to here to California, and maybe they back off. So this will be a fight, and I know the Firearms Policy and California Rifle and Pistol Association, Gun Owners of California, Gun Owners of America in California, will have a lot of work to do, a lot